I talk for a living. You guys probably know that. But this is going to be the toughest speech that I have ever done in my life. I'm probably going to cry, and you've seen me cry a lot of times already, so that's probably no surprise. I used to find the idea of fate impossible to believe. I would insist to people, life is like a deck of cards being shuffled and dealt in no particular order. But as I stand in front of you today, and in front of the most beautiful woman I have seen in my life, here's why I think I was wrong. I think it's really easy to feel lost. I think we all feel lost at points, both on a personal level. You know, my career isn't going anywhere, my friends don't really like me, I'll never find a partner. But also on a bigger universe scale. I mean, just look up. There are 200 billion, trillion stars up there. And when you look at just one star, it's so far away that the light from it takes 100,000 years to get to you. You're looking at something that happened 100,000 years ago. So where on earth do we fit into this vast picture? We're made of stardust. Oh no, but seriously, like virtually every element inside of us was formed in the stars. We borrow it for a bit of time, we live our lives, we laugh, we cry, and then we return that stardust back to the universe. So surely, everything that ever happens in our lives, it's all temporary. No one's going to care in 100 years. No one's going to remember in 500 years. Everything we will ever achieve will live and die on this one tiny rock floating in the middle of an indifferent nothingness. Surely, if the end destination of life is death, and that's the only thing that we can say for certainty, then life itself is meaningless. This is something I used to think about a lot before meeting Drisha. I would look at life through this hyperlogical, hypercritical lens and would continue to come to the conclusion that when you ask enough questions, no one has the answers, and eventually that there are no answers. There is no point. A lot of my ways of thinking stemmed from very early on. Like at school, for example, people would act like I wasn't part of the conversation that I was standing in. People would run up to me in the corridors, shout ugly in my ear, and then disappear before I could turn around. People told me I'd be single forever. I felt invisible. Like I could be standing there in a room full of people and they could just walk right through me. So to try and escape that feeling, I'd keep my head down, I'd avoid eye contact. I used to walk around like this all the time because that hurt less. But then I found YouTube, actually. Not Drisha, she's coming, I promise. I made some videos online, people liked them, so I kept making those videos and it felt like I blinked and suddenly I was popular. People had gone from wanting nothing to do with me to being in wonder, praising me. People were like, I knew you could do it from the beginning. Congratulations, I had my money on you from the start. And you would think that would be the cure to that deeply ingrained need for a purpose. That feeling of not being good enough for the outside world. It certainly felt like it at the time. But it actually made it worse. The simple fact that people found me so much more impressive on paper or over the internet when they were far away from me than when I let them get close meant that I decided to keep it that way. I created this outer shell for myself, this false, perfect person persona that I'd become based on what I thought people wanted me to be. I'd adopt other people's ways of thinking. I did everything I could to get every single person to like me, and I'd never get too close. I'd always keep some distance so they didn't know me so well they'd realize I was the same old, boring, nerdy, lanky kid that it had been made pretty clear to me that no one liked. For those of you who knew me when I was younger, you'll know that I used to love being home. When I was really young, I'd cross my arms angrily and I'd tell people they were stupid for not letting me go home. And when I got older, I did the same thing. I just did it internally. And it's not because we had a TV or toys or a garden to play in. Home was the only place where I didn't feel the need to hide who I was. This little sanctuary, free from the judgment and expectation that I tried to shelter myself from. Now, I could well have lived my entire life like this, a silent, lone particle, drifting within this enormous universe, working, laughing, crying, ultimately, without reason. But then I saw you, Drisha, standing on the other side of that busy London street, looking right back at me, wearing the most beautiful smile I'd ever seen in my life. She was holding back a laugh, watching me wheeling along this massive suitcase behind me, a tradition whenever I'd come to London, hanging into things, looking like I was about to move in before I'd even met her. I locked eyes with her, I laughed back, and the rest was history. The first time I met Drisha, I booked 3 different bars. I'd been on enough dates at this point to know that changing locations about once per hour is a good way to keep things interesting. We didn't leave the first one. I never, ever wanted to leave the first one. We sat in the very corner of the bar, me trying to seem macho by ordering a strong, whiskey-based Mandarin, but secretly wishing I could have just had what she was having. Drisha proceeded to absolutely slaughter me at the foosball table, at which point I decided to just drop the act and order the fruity pink cocktail. And then they had this little bowl of popcorn at the table, presumably as a snack in case you got hungry. Not to Drisha. After a couple of hours of having drinks, I decided, I gotta go to the back room. And this is the point where every girl I've been on a date with so far, every single girl does the same thing. They pull out their mirror, they made sure their makeup looked good, they uncreased their clothing. Do you know what I walked back into Drisha doing? Seeing how high she could throw that popcorn and catch it in her mouth without bounces. Yeah, my kind of woman. And when I finally had to say bye to her that night and I watched her walk away from me, I turned around, I cursed, and I did the weirdest thing that I've never done before. Right there in that moment, I took out my phone and I took a photo. It's a photo of an empty street. It doesn't have me in it. It doesn't have her in it. I took that photo because I wanted to remember that moment, that electrifying feeling, almost like the universe itself had crept up behind me to whisper in my ear, "You're welcome." And do you want to know why? It's because she saw me too. Trisha could see me clearer than anyone had ever seen me before, the real me. She refused to watch anything I put online for the simple fact that she wanted to know me for me and not what I did or who I presented myself as. That or she just didn't like my videos. She could read me like a book. We'd say the exact same thing at the exact same time, in the exact same tone so often we decided we should just take turns when speaking to people. And we had so much fun together. When we first met, I thought, wow, she loves everything I love. This is amazing. But that wasn't a coincidence. It took me much longer to realize that the reason we love the same things is because Drisha is relentlessly curious. She actively chooses at every opportunity to take interest in the things I take interest in. But most importantly of all, she made me feel so damn loved. Every time I'd confide in her, every time I'd reveal something about myself that I assumed was the reason I was unlovable, she would just smile and love me more. One of the things people would tell me when I was younger is, "Aaron, your head is weirdly shaped. You look like a cartoon character, not a good one." That pushed me to create this spiky hairstyle that completely masked the shape of my head. And from the moment I did that and the comments stopped, I decided I wouldn't dare reveal my true identity to anyone anymore. Anytime a friend suggested we go swimming or out in the rain where my hair would get ruined, for years I would panic. I'd find a way to avoid it, and it took me a very long time to show Drisha what I looked like without the hair, because some part of my brain was terrified that any sane girl would leave me in that moment. But when I did, Drisha stared right back at me, with the exact same attraction and admiration that she always had. I was so confused how anyone could like the way I looked without 3 gallons of gel in my hair. I wanted to run and hide myself. 5 seconds is plenty. But she told me, "No, Aaron, right here, right now, in this moment, like this, you look beautiful." I could slowly feel all those burdens I've been carrying becoming bridges, and my insecurities melting away. The things I'd spent my entire life hiding from the world, she showed me how to be proud of them. She made me realize that trying to be this flawless version of myself all the time to serve other people was not just exhausting, but it would never, ever allow me to be happy. I'm not perfect, but that's what makes me perfect for her. She told me to embody that, to wear that mantra like a badge, to shout it from the rooftops. So here I am. And with this unconditional acceptance, by embracing me the exact same through both the good and the bad, Drisha opened me up to love. She allowed me to both love and be loved more than I ever dreamed of being able to. And so it's probably not surprising that it only took 8 dates before I knew I wanted to marry this girl. We weren't even boyfriend or girlfriend at this point, but I distinctly remember this moment. I was reading a book on my bed. There was a funny moment, like laugh out loud funny. So I turned around to see her, and I realized she wasn't there. And it was the weirdest feeling, because my entire life, if you'd asked me where I wanted to be, I would tell you one thing and one thing only. I want to go home. Except this moment, I realized that my answer had changed. I want to be wherever she is. If you've ever observed Risha and I in our natural habitat, we don't let go of each other. Unless there's simply no way around it, we don't leave the 2-meter vicinity within the other person. We've been told multiple times we're unbearable. That's actually just today. But you don't want to know why? It's because fundamentally, Risha, you are my home. You've made me realize home isn't 4 walls and a ceiling. Home is a feeling. And in your arms, in your eyes, in your hands, I feel home. And that's what love is to me. Love is knowing that you found your home, your safe place, your sanctuary, and that peaceful reassurance of knowing that you will be home till your final days. You know, every evening before we go to sleep, Drisha and I do a gratitude and goals list. 5 things you're grateful for that day and 5 things you want to achieve. And every night, you know what she says she's grateful for? She says me. I'm at the top of that list every single time. And you know what her top goal is, even after everything she already does for me? She says, to be better for me. That's the type of woman Drisha is. You know, the moment I proposed, I've watched that clip like 200 times at this point, mostly because the second I got down on one knee, the second I submitted myself to her for the rest of my life, her gut reaction, the first thing she did, without even thinking, was not to gasp or go for the ring. She dropped down to her knees with me and hugged me. That is the type of woman that Drisha is. Now, here's what really gets me about it, though. If you think about it, the chance of you having met the life partner sitting next to you is basically 0. It shouldn't have happened. You had to be in the exact right place at the exact right time. Your parents had to be in the exact right place at the exact right time. In fact, every single generation before you had to have done exactly what they did for you two to have met. The chance is so close to 0 that betting against it would be the easiest money you've ever made. So, the way that I take that is, either I am the luckiest man in the world for bumping into this angel, either every single star had to align in my favor, or it was going to happen. We were meant to find each other. 2 people, born and brought up over 100 miles apart, but so unbelievably designed for each other. That's what I choose to believe. Now that I see what my life is like with you, Drisha, I refuse to believe that my life could have been without you. So, standing here today, underneath this vast, vast cosmos, surrounded by all the people we love, Drisha, I want to thank you, because now when I look at the same sky every single night, I don't see endless, uncaring emptiness. I see peace. You show me the stars where I previously saw the void. Meeting you, Drisha, always be my greatest achievement. Meeting you, Drisha, has given me the conviction that the universe had a plan for us all along. And whether or not it was written in the stars and we were destined to meet, that as long as we are together, everything is as it's meant to be. And that the same fate that brought us together, that allowed me to find my home and you to find yours, that fate will also guide us forward. I truly believe that. When you probe hard enough into our existence, when you try and use cold, hard logic to calculate the purpose of our lives and the true reasons why we do things, none of it makes any sense. And that was me for my entire life. But you, Drisha, you have made me realize that while the end point of life may be empty, while every flicker eventually does go out, that doesn't make the purpose meaningless. The purpose of life is love. Nothing cures like love, nothing protects like love, nothing endures like love. And so what can the objective be but to give and receive as much love as you possibly can in the time that you have, to not try and change the universe, but to see it as your canvas, to paint your love story across. Mark Twain once said, "The 2 most important moments are when you were born and when you found out why." And now that I found out why, my life is so simple, because it doesn't matter how much I probe, the answer to every single question, no matter how complex, is the same. I love you, Trisha, my wife.
ये सफर ये मेरा सिलसिला जीना है मुझे साए में तेरे सांसों जैसा